Hey guys, and I want to welcome you all back to the channel. My name is DFree, and for today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel video, we are going to be talking about 10 cards that I think you guys should be picking up and focusing on and working with as you begin your journey and basically as you come into your own when it comes to building whatever deck you're trying to build. There are going to be some honorable mentions, but overall though, we're going to try to cover as much as we can in as little time as possible. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, there will be a playlist down below with stuff like a full-on gameplay guide to explain to you the ins and outs of the gameplay. Also, we have a best ace monster guide to recommend you guys some different ones and explain what those characters do and how they function, those monsters. We have other guides as well down below, like a beginner guide, so you guys are going to want to check out that playlist in the description. So honorable mentions, first and foremost, actually, honorable mention goes to Brad and Decade and all the people that are working over at Cross Duel Meta, because a few of the cards on this list are directly from their guide that they put out over on their website. So huge shout out to them and the work that they do. So that being said, honorable mentions are going to go to some other monsters like Wing Karibo. Any monster that has a skill like Curse, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful for what it can do. Honorable mentions are going to go to the Ojimas. Any card that can return back to your hand with a reincarnation type of effect is really good, and is really good in a lot of raid format too. So we're mainly talking about just regular gameplay or PvP, not really so much raid, but they're really good in raid format, those Ojima monsters. And last but not least, X, Y, and Z. They're good in whatever format you want to play them in for whatever reason, but they're really, really good in PvP. And some of the best cards, including Z-Metal Tank, are completely free to play, so you guys probably have them. Anyways, so these monsters I want to start off with, I'm not going to be covering the URs because they're generally ace monsters. You can use those monsters in your deck if you would like to, outside of being your ace, and you can still use their master skill or whatever, I believe. But I'm not covering them because I want to stay to SR rarity and below. So a lot of these monsters are designed to be ran in specific decks. We're going to pull Debris Dragon here, for example. When summoned, select one of your monsters with 500 or less attack in your graveyard and return it to your hand. Then apply negation to all of its skills. Very good in decks that have this design choice of recycling cards, right? Like Stardust, basically. So something similar to that. I guess there's reasons why they work well together. Neos works well with Gaia. This guy works really good with pendulum monsters, as you would imagine. There's an entire Trickstar archetype that's built around burn damage with snipe and stuff like that. There's a lot that kind of goes into this, but for the most part, there is synergy between other cards. So like I said, it comes down to whatever deck you're trying to build. But we're going to start off with Gaia. This is a very powerful effect. When summoned, all of your monsters gain super speed. You'll see super speed a few times in this because it's extremely powerful. When you can determine how quickly you're going to move across the board, it gets outlandish. And then if you stack it with another, it becomes hyperspeed. And hyperspeed, your monster can go from end to end in one move. Yeah, end to end in one turn upon being played if they've got hyperspeed. It's really, really crazy. Otherwise, they get like 3/4 of the way. Anyways, so yeah. So this is powerful. Giving all your monsters access to faster movement speed is a no-brainer. Definitely one you want to consider. Next one on my list is actually going to be Dark Resonator. I'm not seeing Dark Resonator off the top of my head. I'm not seeing it. Where are you at, Dark Resonator? There you are. So there are a few other monsters, but any monster that has the double material trait, this is basically what Dark Resonator does in the TCG, if I recall correctly, but can be used as 2 summon material. So cheap way to be able to bring out your ace monster, which is generally going to be the only 2 tribute monster you're playing in your deck. So any monster that can do that, including Dark Resonator, obviously, is one to consider. Next up on the list is a monster that's good in multiple formats because of the way it plays, and next is Vice Dragon. So Speedy Summon is really powerful. Can be summoned with 1 less material, but you lose the attack and defense. The double of that is efficient, but it is what it is. You don't really need that. Anyways, so the rest of it though is this ability here is solid in raids, but Speedy Summon is very similar to the Super Speed, where you're able to just play cards at a higher rate and play them faster, whatever the case is. Those types of abilities are really good in this game. Now, there is a drawback. You do lose some of the stats, but in the right deck, this monster is extremely powerful. So keep that in mind. Next up on our list, we're going down to some spells. We're going to start off with Swords of Revealing Light. Select one monster against Immobile and Phantom until the end of the turn. This is very, very powerful. Unable to move, and cannot inflict damage. The reason why they're paired together is because if they were going to hit you, they wouldn't need to move, right? If they were going to attack you directly, you'd kind of get screwed, so there's no point. So anyways, they're stuck. You just basically freeze them in time for the turn. Very powerful, and can save your butt, basically. That's more or less all this really is for. We move on now from here to the enemy controller. Select one monster and change its battle position. Very versatile card, first and foremost. Sometimes there are going to be monsters that you want to get rid of that maybe have a strong attack stat but a weaker defense, and vice versa. Obviously, there are other cards like Shield and Sword or whatever that can manipulate that. But the fact you can do it to any monster on the board, not just your own, not just, you know, directly a lane across from wherever you like. There's no restrictions on this. You can also use this to force a monster in defense mode to start traversing down a lane so they can battle one of the opponent's monsters to get them off the board quicker. There's good strategy in this card. It's very good and very cookie cutter, but can be put in pretty much any deck. So very useful. Probably the most useful card we've looked at so far, you know, depending on who you ask. Next up, the Flute of Summoning Kuriboh. So you guys saw I mentioned Wing Kuriboh earlier. This one allows you to special summon to your zone either a Kuriboh with Detonated or a Wing Kuriboh with Curse. Note, that would be an out-of-deck card. So what this does is it brings them, they don't have to be in your deck like or anything like that from your hand, graveyard. It just plays the card of the monster. So Detonate, whenever the monster is destroyed, it loses attack and defense. And then we already talked about Curse. Until the end of the next turn, the monster gains Immobile and Phantom. So Phantom is, this is Swords of Revealing Light. So Wing Kuriboh is Swords of Revealing Light, if you weren't understanding, right? Until the end of the next turn as well. So it's like Swords of Revealing Light, but for another turn. So this is only for that turn. Yeah, it's Swords of Revealing Light for another turn. So really, really powerful effect to have on the monster. And also there's utility in this. If you just need Detonated, that might be better for you sometimes. You know what I'm saying? There's crazy utility in this card. And you can use it whenever you need to. It's another card that'll basically just save your butt. Next up is Mask of Brutality. Note that these are all cards that I don't actually have because for whatever reason I didn't have them. I should be crafting some of them though sooner than later. But it is kind of annoying to craft SRs because you have to use 4 SRs. They're not the easiest thing to pull. So this one is very cookie cutter, very straightforward. Gain attack, lose defense. It can be countered by some of the other stuff like enemy controller or whatever, making your monster easier to kill defensively. You know, there's easy counters to this. However, 1,000 attack is a lot in this game. It's a lot in general, but it's a lot in this game specifically due to the format of this game. Anytime a monster can just put on 1,000 attack, that's really tough to deal with, especially because, like I said, the format with them losing their attack stat repeatedly anytime they're doing battles, this is a really big deal. So don't sleep on that card. All right, we're going to move on to some traps down here. Next up, we have, where is it at? Where are you at? I know you're right here. It's in here somewhere. There you go. Hollowed Life Barrier. Basically another save your butt card. You take no damage until the end of the turn. Very good because it's not specifically pointing out one lane or one monster. It's just for the entirety of the turn. Now, there's benefits to other stuff like Wall of Disruption, where it's going to target an entire lane and then do an attack reduction. I talked about how problematic it is that monsters lose attack. So when you can add to that by playing something like this, you can completely turn the tides on an entire lane with them all losing a lot of attacks. This is a very good card too. But more or less, the reason why I chose the other one is because it's not as specific. That's all. That's really all. It's not to say it's better or more powerful. It's just not as specific. There are a lot of specific cards, like Curse of Anubis is really powerful, especially alongside like a Pierce card or a Piercing deck, things like that. There's very good just cards in general in this game. Next on my list is Final Attack Order. This one is interesting. So this is an entire board changed to attack position at the start of the battle phase. This will make all the monsters move. This one can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing, depending on when you, but like whenever it pops. Like if you wanted it to pop at the right time, then that's fine. But if somebody uses this against you, it could completely foil everything you're trying to do. And there are a lot of monsters like Ultimate King or whatever that can't be in attack mode normally. So very powerful card. Last one on my list, Assault on GHQ. I promised you guys would see more super speed. All of your monsters gain super speed for the turn. This is pretty crazy. And I used this one game. So I played a game, and I had this in my deck. My Elemental Hero Avian had super speed as his default one. I was in a ranked match. Like I said, super speed makes the move 50% bonus. Hyper speed is the double of that. And with hyper speed, my Avian went from literally just playing him to a direct attack. And I actually also had this here. So let me just explain this. Double attack. When attacking directly, get 500 attack. That's 2 stacks of it. This doesn't give 1. It gives him 2. It gives it twice. So Avian picked up 1,000 extra in one turn. Really, really crazy. But that's only possible because of the fact you pick up the speed. There was another scenario with Assault on GHQ where I needed to win the game that turn, and I played a couple of monsters. They, again, also had super speed or hyper speed. And they got all the way across, or really, really close to across, and we had Pearson's. You know, it's a very powerful card when all your monsters just move faster than everybody else's. And the thing about the speed manipulation is it's also a strategy, too, not just to get a direct hit, but because you can avoid confrontation, whereas other people might get stuck in confrontation. Like, when you play a super speed monster and there's opposed, like, going down the center, and then your left and right opponents are playing stuff down their center as well, you're going to make it 3/4 of the way to the person in front of you while avoiding the 2 people on the left entirely, as opposed to getting caught in that battle, you know? So very powerful. So I really put a high value on speed. But the thing is that a lot of times those types of decks and stuff do have drawbacks with playing weaker monsters or whatever. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see all of you next time. Don't forget, by the way, to check out the stuff down below in the description.